Are we ready to go? All right. I'm opening the Bridges and Tunnel Committee meeting. And do we have any public speakers?
We have one public speaker, Murray Bowden.
Thank you.
Sorry, Linda.
It's okay. We just started.
Where am I? This is a rather difficult presentation that I have today. I know Dan and Joe for a long time. I've worked with them for many years about the lines and certain other things on the bridges. I've written emails, including direct copies to the Federal Highway Administration and every other significant traffic engineer in the United States, and the lines don't get fixed. And it's not because Joe doesn't do it. It is a cultural problem of the traffic engineering community. And what it results in less safe roads, increases road rage because people who know cut ahead, extra expenses, changing Dan or Joe doesn't solve the problem. It has to be done on a board level. They can't do it because of the culture of their community. So if the board tackles it and the board says, do and obey the law as currently written, it'll get changed. The new signs on a Kosciuszko Bridge, the arrows point up, which is the way they should be in a narrow hour. But it's not replicated on the MTA and bridges and tunnels. Why? Because the culture of traffic engineering refuses to let you use the safest signs. I've done all I can. You want a safer road? Your responsibility. Your responsibility. Do something about it. I heard what you said in the other ones. This is one you can tackle and really make a change.
Please wrap up your comments, Mr. Bowden.
I can't do it anymore. Your turn.
Thank you. I ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the last committee meeting.
Motion.
Thank you. Are there any changes to the committee work plan?
No changes to the work plan.
I will refer it now to Dan DiCrescenzo for his remarks as acting president.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to the September MTA Bridges Tunnels Committee meeting. We have a full agenda covering multiple months, so we're going to get right into it. And just before I do, just to make mention, this Sunday is the Stephen Siller Tunnel to Towers Run Walk. Our HLC or UL Carry Tunnel will be closed approximately 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. while we facilitate about 30,000 participants walking through the tunnel once again. So I just want to make mention of that. So with that, Rich, report on operations.
Thank you. The report on operations begins on page 21. Paid B&T vehicle traffic increased by similar amounts in the 2 months, which speaking about today. 0.9% in June and 1.0% in July as compared to the same months in 2018. Bridges and Tunnels traffic for this year through the end of July is 3.4% higher than in the same period in 2018. B&T is transitioning its safety enforcement efforts to better utilize its workforce. While B&T's uniformed forces support the MTA Fare Evasion Task Force, it's critical to focus on the remaining members of service on the most effective and safe enforcement tactics. These include pacing of traffic with marked vehicles in periods of higher collision risk, and these tactics, which meter and regulate the flow of traffic, helps to reduce sudden stops and starts, which we've identified as a major cause of our collisions. More indirect methods of safety enforcement, such as issuing of summonses for safety-related violations, remains an important part of our mission and our more balanced approach to safety enforcement. As presented on page 62, summons issuance is about 19% lower for this year through July than the same period last year. Unless there are any questions, this concludes the report on operations.
Thank you, Rich. Eric, report on safety.
Thanks, Danny. The safety report begins on page 51, and the following are performance highlights. Total collision rate for the 12-month period ending July 2019 is slightly lower than the previous 12 months and significantly below the 12 months prior to that. The collisions with injury rate for the 12 months through July 2019 is 16% lower than the preceding 12 months and slightly higher than the 12 months prior to that. In June, B&T had a spike in collision rates that provides a case study in B&T's process for improving performance. While collision rates typically increase in summer months, June's performance was more than a normal variance. June is a transition month, and B&T's seasonal traffic pattern with higher traffic levels that include many discretionary travelers who are less familiar with B&T facilities. B&T identified these areas and times of higher risk and applied a tactical approach focusing on targeted speed control and better real-time information to help customers more safely navigate its facilities. As a result, July collision performance improved significantly compared to last year, and preliminary figures indicate that collision rates were lower in August as well. So that concludes the safety report.
Thank you, Eric. For this month, we have a customer environmental survey that Pat will touch on.
Okay. The Customer Environment Survey begins on page 63, and second quarter highlights include more than 1,800 storm drains were cleaned, ensuring their effectiveness as we enter hurricane season and the winter months. Additionally, over 210,000 linear feet of lane striping was performed in the second quarter, improving visibility and roadway safety. Potholes filled in 2019 continue to be significantly down from the same period in 2018 due to a mild winter coupled with a robust paving and redecking program. Over 96% of B&T's roadway lights were in service in the second quarter. Travel time tables are presented on pages 66 and 67. These tables compare peak period travel time in the second quarter and year to date with the same time periods last year. The Travel Time Index compares peak travel times with those in free flow conditions to give an indication of peak congestion severity. Unless there are any questions, this concludes the Customer Environment Survey.
Thanks, Pat. Allison, the financial report.
Good afternoon. The financial reports begin on page 74. At $773 million year-to-date through August, support to mass transit was nearly $15 million higher than our mid-year forecast. August year-to-date toll revenue came in right at the forecast level of $1.4 billion, and operating expenses were $331 million, which was below forecast by $12 million. The 2019 mid-year forecast monthly allocations that are used for financial reporting are included in your package as an information item. In addition, the 2020 preliminary budget materials were presented at the July Finance meeting. Unless there are any questions, this concludes the report.
Thank you, Allison. Joe Keane for the capital program.
Good afternoon. The capital program status reports begin on page 132. In the month of August, 16 task level commitments were made with a total value of $16.9 million. In July, B&T awarded a construction contract for steel repair, concrete rehab, and painting on the suspended spans of the Verrazano Narrow Bridge, valued at $76.9 million. This contract was awarded on an A+B bidding basis, which is a cost-plus time-based bidding procedure that helps minimize customer impacts. An additional 3 design build and 4 A+B major procurements are in progress and on track for award before the end of 2019. Overall, to date, B&T has exceeded its commitment goals for number of commitments awarded and are on track to meet our annual commitment goal of up to $798 million in capital commitments. There is one upcoming design-build project that merits special mention. This project is a design-build to construct a direct connector ramp linking the Manhattan span of the RFK Bridge with the northbound Harlem River Drive. Currently, traffic exiting the RFK Bridge to the Harlem River Drive must pass through local streets in East Harlem. This project provides a more convenient direct route for customers, reducing traffic congestion and benefiting the local community. For completions, there were 2 additional project completions made in August for $19.9 million. This brings our overall year-to-date completions to $154 million, 78% of the overall year-to-date goal of $198.3 million. 3 remaining project completions planned for 2019 are all on track to be completed by the end of the year. Unless there are any questions, that concludes the capital report.
Thank you, Joe. That Harlem River ramp is something that we've been waiting for, very exciting. If you drove from the RFK to the George Washington Bridge, you know that going into the streets sometimes that's a 20-minute venture to get back on the Harlem River Drive, so there's going to be direct access. Very excited about that. Thanks, Joe. Brian, procurements?
Procurements start on page 148. There are no non-competitive procurements or ratifications. There are 8 competitively solicited awards this month. The first is for an as-needed contract to provide miscellaneous construction services at authority facilities in the not-to-exceed amount of $120 million. Individual work orders will be awarded by competitive bid. The second is for design-build services for the new Harlem River Drive connector ramp that Joe and Dan just discussed in a negotiated amount of $47.8 million. There are 6 personal service contract awards in the total amount of $24.7 million, the details of which are in the book. Lastly, there is a personal service contract modification to add construction support services for project TN 53 in a negotiated amount of $4.3 million. The total amount committed for these actions is $196.8 million. Unless there are any questions, these procurements are described in details in the enclosed staff summaries.
Okay, any questions? I ask for a motion to approve the procurements.
Motion.
Second? Thank you. All voting aye?
The second quarter 2019 diversity report is in the committee book on page 171. It'll be spoken about later on in the diversity committee meeting. This completes the September 2019 Bridge and Tunnels Committee report.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Second. Thank you.